allons avoir le deuxième panel relié au grand thème de l'inclusion par l'agriculture. Nous avons eu l'occasion de voir comment la banque a entrepris de maximiser l'impact des investissements qu'elle accompagne avec ses partenaires jusque-là dans la chaîne de valeur agricole. On a eu l'occasion de regarder cela de façon plus concrète à travers le travail d'introspection que la banque a fait pour évaluer les appuis qu'elle a apportés jusque-là au développement des chaînes de valeur agricole. Et on a pu se rendre compte de ce qu'il y a comme difficultés, mais aussi comme opportunités dans les chaînes de valeur agricole telles que nous les avons discutées avec le panel qui nous a précédés. Maintenant, ce qu'on doit faire, c'est de regarder comment on peut rendre ces chaînes de valeur-là plus inclusives. En termes plus simples, comment faire en sorte que tous les partenaires, de l'amont jusqu'à l'aval, sans distinction de taille, de pouvoir de négociation, de sexe, de rôle, puissent accéder et jouer le rôle qui est le plus pertinent et le plus profitable pour ses propres intérêts sans que ça nuise à l'équilibre général de la dite chaîne des valeurs. Donc, c'est une équation un peu difficile à résoudre à laquelle nous allons nous attaquer avec votre participation. Donc, pour faire cette discussion, je vais accueillir 4 panélistes. Notre premier panéliste et notre premier expert, c'est Madame Aboegnonhou Chaldia, Agossou. Elle est une chercheuse doublée d'un entrepreneur et elle est titulaire d'une maîtrise en sciences agronomiques de l'université d'Abomey au Bénin. Et elle a la particularité d'avoir cofondé une start-up qui travaille dans le domaine de la production de semences de légumes africains locaux. Donc, on va comprendre quelle est sa perspective sur cette question d'inclusion, d'inclusivité des chaînes de valeur. Notre deuxième panéliste, c'est Dr. Enock Warinda. He is an experienced researcher and professional of monitoring, evaluation, and knowledge and learning management. He's coming from Uganda, and he has more than 20 years of a comprehensive experience in design, implementation, and governance of M&E. So he will be a valuable resource to guide our discussion. And he's currently the theme leader of monitoring, evaluation, learning, and knowledge management of the Association for Strengthening Agricultural Research in Eastern and Central Africa. Our third panelist is Troels Sorensen, well known in the AfDB. He is an expert with more than 15 years of experience in operational management, advisory in the security, development, and humanitarian nexus of fragile and post-conflict environment. So he currently assists the bank in this field of expertise to ensure that the operations in this kind of environment are smoothly led and led us to the desired impact. We will see how it goes about analyzing the fragility aspect of the inclusiveness of a given value chain with him. Et notre quatrième et dernier panéliste est déjà connu. C'est M. Koffi Amegbeto de la FAO qui représente Mme Tako Ndiaye dans notre panel. Et comme vous le connaissez déjà, je vais gagner du temps sur sa présentation. Une chaîne de valeur inclusive. C'est ce que nous devons un peu mieux comprendre à l'issue de notre panel. C'est le défi que je partage avec vous et que nous allons essayer de relever. Si à la fin de la discussion, une seule personne dit qu'elle n'a rien compris, on aura tous échoué. Pas seulement les panélistes, mais aussi les participants parce que c'est un travail interactif. Pour commencer ce voyage, je vais passer la parole en premier lieu à Monsieur Koffi pour donner la perspective que la FAO a de la question de l'inclusivité des chaînes de valeur. Donc, Monsieur Koffi, vous êtes notre premier intervenant.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I have the pleasure to represent my colleague, Madame Tako Ndiaye, who cannot make the trip to Abidjan because of other reasons. And I'll do my best to do justice to the ideas that he proposed and she proposed and has charged me to deliver during this meeting. So again, good morning. I will make a brief statement about FAO's approach in terms of promoting inclusiveness in value chains. Let me maybe address first the question of why gender equality is important to improve agricultural value chains in Africa. The reason is, of course, about 50% of women they work as laborers in the agricultural sector in sub-Saharan Africa. And in some countries, this figure is rise up to 75%. The women also make critical contributions to shaping food systems, more specifically in production, processing, distribution, and consumption, including, not to forget, nutrition. So, empowering women and investing in rural women can increase productivity, reduce hunger and malnutrition, and also improve rural livelihood significantly. Then there is the issue of women being faced with several constraints in the agricultural and food systems. And this is a little bit unfortunate because they deserve to be given equal chance and opportunities to also perform at their best. This said, what is FAO's approach toward empowering women in the agricultural sector? FAO has produced a conceptual framework and an implementation guidelines aimed at supporting practitioners and decision makers in planning and implementing value chains interventions from which women and men, of course the women, of course the youth also can benefit equally. So this framework is articulated around two key dimensions. One is access to productive resources and services, technology, market, and information. The second one is to promote access to capabilities in terms of skills, power and decision making and self-confidence. So the framework highlights the role of women and men can play in different nodes of the selected chain, identify the constraints that prevent them to benefit from their work, and provide them with the skills and opportunities to unleash their potential. So this is basically the approach or the way that FAO addresses inclusiveness, particularly gender or women inclusiveness in value chain development. I will stop here.
Thank you. That's a fantastic start, and that will make a good bridge towards our following panelist. I'm addressing now Mrs. Shadla from Benin. Going from that framework, because it's good to have that gender lines to put the first perspective of the inclusiveness of a given value chain. as you are kind of model of empowered women because you have been educated at a quite higher level and you have the opportunity also to translate your aspirations in reality by completed your studies and setting up this startup. So now, if we consider the other elements of the framework, I mean, accessing to the productive resources and accesses to the bargaining power, etc., building on your own experience, what will be your perspective of an inclusive value chain for a young female leader like you?
Quelle perception j'ai du terme chaîne de valeur? La chaîne de valeur, d'abord pour moi, c'est un ensemble d'activités. Donc, qui parle d'activités prend en compte des actions et des acteurs. Donc, c'est un ensemble d'activités qui concourent à mettre sur le marché un produit spécifique pour un marché. Donc, chaque fois que nous parlons de chaîne de valeur, nous devons avoir en tête que la chaîne de valeur doit être associée forcément à un produit spécifique. L'exemple chaîne de valeur ananas séché, donc la finalité c'est de l'ananas séché. Maintenant, dans cette chaîne de valeur, nous retrouvons plusieurs acteurs. Ces acteurs de l'amont jusqu'en aval, et nous allons citer les producteurs d'intrants. Et en parlant de producteurs d'intrants comme catégorie d'acteurs, j'en fais partie. J'ai une start-up qui est dans la production des semences, qui met sur le marché des semences de nos légumes et fruits locaux qui sont adaptés à nos environnements. Donc, lorsqu'on dépasse ça, on laisse les acteurs qui sont dans la production des intrants, nous venons aux acteurs qui s'investissent réellement dans la production. Là, nous avons des petits producteurs, nous avons des grands producteurs, et autres. Nous avons aussi, parmi les acteurs, des transformateurs, des assureurs, ceux qui sont dans le domaine de l'assurance agricole, ceux qui doivent assurer la production en cas où il y aura de problèmes pour que le producteur puisse faire recours à ces derniers pour pouvoir bénéficier de l'assurance pour recouvrir un peu ses investissements. Donc, mis à part les assurances, nous avons les commerçants, ceux qui sont censés prendre les produits, les mettre sur le marché ou bien les apporter directement vers les consommateurs, que nous sommes tous ici d'ailleurs. Donc, lorsque je prends la chaîne de valeur comme un ensemble d'acteurs qui quittent la production jusqu'à la table du consommateur, et nous rencontrons plusieurs difficultés au niveau des différentes activités que chaque acteur développe. Mais lorsque nous faisons une analyse de cette chaîne de valeur, nous observons généralement qu'il y a très peu de femmes, il y a très peu de jeunes. Pourquoi? On les marginalise. Donc, comment est-ce que nous devons faire maintenant pour qu'il y ait plus de ces personnes marginalisées dans les chaînes de valeur? Parce que nous le voulions ou pas, et les femmes font partie de la société et les jeunes aussi font partie de la société. Et quand nous prenons même le cas des jeunes, la population africaine est plus jeune. Donc, nous devons quand même trouver des stratégies pour intégrer ces acteurs dans les chaînes de valeur et les aider à réaliser leurs activités et à en bénéficier. Donc, comment est-ce que, selon nous, on peut rendre quand même les chaînes de valeur plus inclusives? Il faut d'abord qu'on pense à la formation des différents acteurs. Leur formation, renforcer leur capacité en matière de gestion, en matière de leadership et autres. Et surtout, en matière d'accompagnement financier. Et qui parle d'accompagnement financier pour une chaîne de valeur inclusive, cela implique que les institutions de finances doivent chercher à mettre en place des modèles qui seront adaptés aux besoins aussi bien des petits producteurs que des femmes. Parce que ceux-ci, ils ont différents pouvoirs sur le marché. Donc, en fonction de la capacité de chaque acteur, il faut trouver des stratégies, un moyen pour les financer. Donc, il faut que le financement, il y ait une certaine équité dans le financement de ces acteurs. Donc, c'est ce que nous pensons qu'il faut pour réellement rendre une chaîne, les chaînes de valeur inclusives pour qu'il y ait une meilleure intégration de nous qui sommes jeunes et des femmes pour réellement une bonne transformation de notre agriculture en Afrique. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Je me tourne maintenant vers son voisin qui applaudit et qui regarde l'autre voisin qui applaudissait. Mais je parle de son voisin immédiat qui applaudissait. Alors, Monsieur Sorensen, vous avez une façon particulière de regarder ces questions-là et de regarder justement d'où peuvent venir les points de fragilité et qu'il faut prendre en compte dans les analyses qu'on fait des chaînes de valeur, notamment pour pouvoir les rendre plus exclusives. Est-ce que vous pouvez partager une première perspective de cela avec nous? Merci.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to share my thoughts with the distinguished panelists and with you, distinguished participants in this session. My hope is to contribute with a reflection on how initiatives linked towards inclusive value chain development is impacted by fragility and conflict, but also how these initiatives might impact conflict and fragility. In the African Development Bank, we acknowledge that working in fragile context, working in transition countries, cannot be business as usual. And as we're also discussing evaluation this week, that also implies that evaluation cannot be business as usual. When we look at the agricultural sector, we see that that's a sector that is strongly linked to many of the complexities that are surrounding fragility, vulnerabilities, and violent conflict. And hence we believe that the project design should also address how these agricultural activities are linked to these fragilities. I've been asked to share light on a couple of key messages in a couple of minutes. The first key message that I would like to address is the importance of applying the fragility lens, or a fragility lens. At the African Development Bank these years, we are promoting, advocating that all sectors, so all the high fives, should integrate a fragility lens. So that also implies the work that we do in the agricultural sector. Applying a fragility lens starts by having a comprehensive assessment of the context in which a project will be implemented. And I'll get back to some of the dynamics that we see between the agricultural activities and fragility. At the African Development Bank, we have a broad understanding of what fragility is. So for us, fragility concerns social drivers, economic drivers, political drivers, economic drivers, did I already mention that? Social, political, environmental, social, and regional drivers of fragility. So it does demand a quite comprehensive analysis of the context in which an agricultural project will be implemented. The second key message is the importance of designing fragility-sensitive project designs. From a fragility perspective, or from a conflict-sensitive perspective, when we look at the agricultural sector and we look at the research, the knowledge, the evaluations, the lessons learned that are out there, we see that there is a bigger emphasis on how conflict impacts the agricultural production. Much of it is quite logic. You have a violent conflict that of course impacts the agricultural sector. And there's quite many studies going into numbers on how and to which degree it impacts. What we don't see as much research and evaluation on is how agricultural projects, when they're being implemented, can impact fragility or are impacted by fragility. I think that everybody in here, especially those who work in the agricultural sector, we're all aware of some of the fragility drivers that are linked to the agricultural sector. Just to mention some of them, and again, I think we all know them. We already heard about them in the first section. It is questions such as land rights, land access, water usage, population growth in areas with scarcity of agricultural land, migration refugees, farmers and nomadic pastoralists and the conflicts that we see between these groups. We see how modern arms and the proliferation of arms are making the conflicts between groups concerning agricultural activities are becoming much more violent and are increasing the toll of death that are involved in these issues. And we see how change of social norms, traditions concerning conflict mediation has an impact on how conflicts are being resolved. So we often see and we hear about these dynamics, but when we look at the assessments that we undertake in relation to agricultural projects, when we look at project designs, we see much less. Of course, they're out there. We have examples of them. But we see much less project designs that are incorporating these fragility dynamics in the project design. Some of the things that we advocate for when we talk about inclusion is to broaden up the perception of what inclusion means. Which groups should be included in the assessments and in the project design? Which activities should be included? And here we go beyond the more classic activities that we normally associate with value chain projects. Just to throw a couple of fragility dynamics out there that we often see for discussion during our Q&A is whether or not one should to a higher degree analyze and integrate how to strengthen security arrangements around agricultural products in the context where it is relevant. Whether or not we should to a higher degree integrate activities on conflict mediation and peace-building mechanisms. Whether or not we to a higher degree should integrate activities on creating alternative routes or transportation of cattle. So having agricultural projects that integrates activities linked to pastoralists or herders. Whether or not we should to a higher degree integrate activities on social dialogue, social cohesion, community involvement. Key message number 3 is the importance of having fragility sensitive indicators and looking at the innovative platforms that are out there for collecting data on how agricultural activities are directly linked or indirectly linked to fragility, vulnerability, or conflict. I'd like to end by asking a question to be discussed, and the question is whether we have enough indicators, methodology, and project management approach developed to map, measure, and incorporate activities to address the various vulnerabilities or fragility drivers that influence the performance of agricultural value chains in Africa. My own opinion is that we do not have enough indicators. And to finish by sharing with you some of the innovative tools that we are working on, some of the ways that the African Development Bank is trying to address this gap, is 2 main tools that I would like to share with you this morning. The first tool is a tool that we call Country Resilience Fragility Assessment. It's a tool that consists of 118 data metrics. We are operating with 7 fragility dimensions. We have 28 sub-dimensions, and we have 91 indicators that we have identified. What is innovative about this tool is that not only do we analyze the pressures, the fragility in each country, but at the same time, we are evaluating the capacities to manage or deal with these fragilities. So for our sector colleagues working in the agricultural sector, this is an opportunity to, in connection with your work, to have a national analysis of what are the pressures, what are the risks of fragility, and what is the capacity of the governments that we're working with in order to consider whether or not you should add capacity building activities with our governmental partners regarding these 7 dimensions. The second tool that I would like to share with you this morning is a tool that is related to one of our bigger programs that are currently being developed and discussed. It's called 10,000 Communities in 1,000 Days. As part of this program, we are developing a new data collection platform that allows us to go down to the community level. So the country resilience fragility assessment was at the national level. Now this tool goes down to the community level. We can target in on all the communities in Africa, down to communities with 500 people, 1,000 people. And we have developed an index to measure the poverty in these communities and the vulnerability or the fragility. So that's an opportunity for sector colleagues working on agriculture, working on value chains, that when you select which areas to work in, this can give you a very precise understanding of the poverty and fragility level in those specific communities. And in addition to your value chain specific indicators to measure and evaluate your impact, you can link that to the development in that community during the same duration regarding poverty and fragility. And that will lead to a discussion. Of course, from an evaluation point of view, you can't necessarily conclude, but you can bring into the reflection how the value chain initiatives have impacted in general the poverty and vulnerability level in those communities in which you work. So with that, let me end. I was asked to make a brief presentation of 5 minutes. I look forward to engage in a discussion with you during the Q&A. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much. Promising discussions coming. Yeah. If I understand well what I've heard so far, if we use a gender lens from the beginning to ensure that we give equal chances of all stakeholders to be included in the value chain. And if we also consider the challenges that those we are not enough included are facing, that are potential drivers for fragilities, we should better have also fragility lens, have it in our design process, and we are still lacking measurement on this area, and we are also missing quite a bunch of learning on the way we design and evaluate our project. So how does it go about innovations and things related to that for a better inclusiveness of our value chain? I'm going to turn now to Dr. Enock Warinda to give a perspective on that particular aspect of the inclusiveness. Over to you.
Oh, thanks so much. And as you've mentioned, moderator plus the colleagues, inclusivity is an important concept. But the question is, what is the basis of it? Allow me to take you back just a little bit on to 27th of January in this year. His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, who is the chair of the African Union Commission, and also His Excellency Antonio Guterres, who is also the Secretary General of the UN, they signed what we call the AU and UN Framework on Implementation of Agenda 2063 and also Agenda 2030. And if you look at that document, there are guiding principles of development framework. There are 6 of them. The first on the list is inclusivity. Then we have mutual accountability, transparency and subsidiarity, ownership, leveraging the existing commitments and initiatives, and also partnership. But then what goes into inclusivity? Because yes, we are talking about inclusive value chain development. What is it with respect to what these two leaders signed into? Inclusivity should provide everyone, I'm quoting, with the opportunity to participate in and to contribute to changing their livelihoods. It is to provide everyone with the opportunity to participate in and to contribute to changing their livelihoods for the better, with the strengthening of gender equality, as has been mentioned, and women's empowerment, and also harnessing the demographic dividend of the population of the young people as a priority. So if you look at that, value chain embedded under inclusivity within the AU and UN framework for the development, we need to pay attention to it. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that value chain development in Africa is in various stages of maturity. If we can put it into 4 main categories, in many occasions, value chain development in Africa is still at the nascent stage. Nascent. Very few of them are emerging from the nascent stage. Very, very few, again, are expanding. And I doubt whether there are those that have matured. So within these 4 stages of nascent, emerging, expanding, and also mature, you can gauge the various value chains that you know of. Where are they? And you'll agree with me that over 80% of them are still oscillating between the nascent and the emerging stages. So what do we need to do? This, therefore, calls for a very, very clear analysis of our value chain development. She mentioned something when the president was saying that behind our skyscrapers, when we go out behind these skyscrapers, what do we see? OECD came up with 5 levels of the rural population, 5 of them. And as I mentioned them to you, please look and see where is our value chain development embedded in these 5 worlds outside our skyscrapers. The first world is the large-scale commercial agriculture and enterprises. You can see the large scale. That is in the number 1, is at the top of the world. But if you go to the rural world number 2, we have the traditional landholders and the enterprises. These are mainly the local elite, those who can manage. So where are, and we are talking about inclusivity, where are the poor communities? They are not in the first world. They are not in the second rural world behind our skyscrapers. They may be in the third category, which is subsistence agricultural households and micro enterprises. This is where we are, on the third category of the world behind these skyscrapers. Number 4, still lower down the ladder, are the landless rural households and micro entrepreneurs. And these are mainly women. So you can see that if you look at that ladder, the women and the youth are still at the 4th level of the world based on the OECD classification. So where is our value chain concentrated? In level number 1 or level number 4? But the last one are the chronically poor rural households, some of whom have been, because of the fragility, have been chased from their land. And therefore they don't have any land. Yet we are talking about inclusivity. We are talking about value chain that is all encompassing. Are we dealing with the world number 1 or are we dealing with the second world? Where is the world number 3? Which are the subsistence agricultural households? Where is the number 4? Who are the landless rural households? Where is the number 5? Who are the chronically poor persons? Allow me to still further state that And somebody mentioned that value chain development starts from and must demand the conservation of two main resources, water and land. So if we don't manage our land and we don't manage our water, it doesn't matter whatever level of value chain that we want to develop, we won't go very far. So how much do we concentrate on the development of these two resources, water and land? And therefore, the M&E persons, we need to really look at how do we track the transformation, even as we move from rural world number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. How is it all inclusive? And therefore, as I finish, to succeed, value chain development requires value stream mapping. Yes, we've been talking about value chain analysis, but value chain analysis should be based on a value stream mapping. So if you don't do a good value stream mapping, our analysis might be lopsided in a way, because the value stream mapping will focus on the sequence of the activities which are required as we design the projects, as we produce the products, as we deliver them. And this looks at the inbound logistics. What do we have to do? The operations, and also the outbound logistics. So, as we will be discussing more and more, inclusivity, from my perspective, must also embrace knowledge management and ICT. And ICT in the sense of the production system that looks at the 5 worlds, and mainly the 3rd, 4th, and 5th world, where majority of the smallholder farmers belong. And if we ignore them, we will be talking in the workshop like this, in the week like this, we go back, but we still will be confronted with these 3 worlds, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th, and we want to move further. So I may stop at that. We will discuss more as we go along.
Merci. Donc, nous poursuivons notre exploration pour bien comprendre ce que c'est et ce qui nous sépare d'ici, de maintenant à des chaînes de valeur plus inclusives et ce qu'on a besoin de faire pour y arriver. Donc, si j'ai bien compris la toute dernière intervention, ça nous donne encore un regard plus approfondi sur les catégories d'acteurs qu'on a et qui se recoupent bien avec ce qui a été dit auparavant de ceux qui sont victimes des vulnérabilités ou des fragilités que M. Sorensen a évoquées tout à l'heure. Et ça nous ouvre aussi une perspective sur l'usage de nouvelles technologies et de partage de connaissances pour justement adresser les obstacles auxquels ce type d'acteur est important à prendre en compte, fait face pour être mieux inclus dans les chaînes de valeur. Mais je retiens surtout en tant qu'agronome aussi que tout part de la bonne maîtrise de la gestion de l'eau et des terres. Parce que tout ce que les animaux vont brouter ou toutes les plantes qu'on pense pouvoir récolter, ça demande ces 2 choses-là, l'eau et la terre. Donc ça, ce sont les fondements. So at this point, I'll go for a first round of interaction with the audience, and I'll take up to 4 questions. But I'm trying to be as balanced as possible, so let us agree on some basic rules. Be short and precise, meaning that you have to be concise. Only 1 question. If someone is going for a second question, if I don't want to be rude and not interrupt him, it will be counted as a question already asked and reduced the reminder of possible questions to ask. Donc, une seule question, courte et précise, donc concise. Une question par personne. Si quelqu'un pose 2 questions, pour ne pas être impoli, je ne vais pas interrompre, mais ça veut dire qu'il aura rogné sur le capital des 4 questions à poser et s'attirer le courroux du reste de l'audience dont il a usurpé une opportunité de question. Donc, comme je n'aime pas être impoli, je vais le laisser en face de tous les autres membres de l'audience. Est-ce qu'on est d'accord sur ça? Bien. OK. Je vais commencer par une dame. Ici, vous.
Mais je remercie tous les panélistes. Je suis Madame Amegbeto, présidente de la plateforme des organisations non étatiques pour le développement de la Côte d'Ivoire. La question relève de la question genre dans le développement agricole. Aujourd'hui, on constate, comme on le dit, qu'on n'inclut pas suffisamment les femmes, alors qu'elles sont à la base de tout ce qui concerne l'agriculture. Tout dernièrement, nous avons reçu une association de jeunes qui ont voulu créer une coopérative agricole. Et ce qui nous a frappé, c'est que dans la constitution des membres du bureau, il n'y a pas de femmes. Et ils ont raté un financement juste parce que le bailleur a constaté qu'il n'y avait pas de femmes dans le bureau. Et ils ont demandé, qu'est-ce que vous comptez faire pour une telle coopérative où tout est basé sur la femme et il n'y a pas de présence féminine. Donc, je demande à la BAD, qu'est-ce que vous faites sur la question genre? Parce qu'aujourd'hui, c'est foncièrement ce problème qui pose toutes les questions de développement. Nous, on fait la promotion du genre, mais les femmes aujourd'hui, c'est vrai, elles se mettent en retrait. Mais qu'est-ce que vous faites concrètement pour la question genre dans le développement agricole? Je vous remercie.
Mes collègues panélistes qui ont déjà parlé, je vais les exclure pour favoriser ceux qui ne se sont pas encore exprimés. Donc votre rangée a déjà parlé, donc je vais regarder au milieu, tout au fond, derrière le monsieur là-bas. Voilà. Oui, vous, voilà.
D'accord, merci beaucoup.
Il a déjà parlé.
D'accord, je suis Dosso Ibrahim, je suis dans un cabinet de recherche, donc j'aimerais poser une question très simple. Aujourd'hui, nos États n'ont pas encore réussi à mettre les 10% du budget sur la question agricole. Pour la Côte d'Ivoire, on dit que c'est à l'horizon 2025 qu'on va atteindre les 10% du budget sur l'agriculture. Est-ce que l'agriculture est une priorité pour nos États? Si oui, est-ce que la banque arrive à mettre la pression aux États pour atteindre les 10%? Parce que sans financement de l'agriculture, on ne peut pas atteindre l'inclusivité. Ma petite expérience, partager rapidement, j'ai essayé de m'inclure dans la chaîne des revendeurs, par exemple, du poulet. Je vendais du poulet à un moment donné. Je suis allé voir une dame. Je lui ai dit, je vais vendre mon poulet. Elle me dit, le ministre fait ça à 5 000. Je dis, quel ministre? Elle dit, c'est une barque. Il dit, non. Je dis, quel ministre? Elle m'a dit, un ministre. Donc, ça veut dire qu'il y a des personnes qui rentrent dans la chaîne de valeur et qui la détruisent sans passer par la norme. Normalement, il n'est pas interdit à un ministre d'être éleveur. Mais si le ministre est éleveur, il doit être le champion de la régulation du secteur et de la gouvernance du secteur. Parce que tous nos ministres, tous nos experts sont aussi dans l'élevage, sont dans l'agriculture. Mais est-ce qu'ils arrivent à aider l'État à la régulation? Sans régulation, les chaînes de valeur ne seront jamais attractives. Si on n'est pas attiré, nous les jeunes, par des chaînes de valeur claires, il n'y aura pas de développement agricole. Merci.
Lui, il est malin. Il s'est débrouillé pour poser 2 questions. Il pense que je ne m'en suis pas rendu compte. Donc, qu'est-ce que je fais? Je considère qu'on est à 3 questions ou bien on laisse passer? Bien, d'accord. On n'a pas eu de question de quelqu'un de là-bas. Donc, il y a une dame là-bas. Voilà.
Bonjour, Vénus Koulibaly. Je suis consultant en gestion d'entreprise. Je travaille beaucoup avec les PME. Et ma question, en fait, tire son origine dans une expérience que j'ai eue avec un jeune entrepreneur dans l'agroalimentaire qui essayait qui s'intéressait en fait à la culture du riz. Aujourd'hui, en Afrique, on importe quasiment, si mes recherches sont bonnes, 39% du besoin global du continent. Alors que les Africains ont développé en même temps que l'Asie les 2 variétés principales de semences, Oryza glaberrima et Oryza sativa. l'Afrique a été inondée par des hybrides, notamment le Nerica, et il y a eu quelques controverses par rapport à cette promotion des hybrides. Promotion qui a été faite notamment par les gouvernements, les instituts de recherche et des nombreux bailleurs de fonds, y compris la Fondation Rockefeller, Africa Rice, le PNUD. Les agriculteurs qui achètent les semences hybrides telles que le Nerica doivent acheter de nouvelles semences à chaque campagne agricole. Donc, en réalité, ça leur coûte cher. Qu'est-ce que les organisations internationales, notamment la BAD, fait pour aider réellement le développement de la recherche pour ce qui est de la variété de semences de riz africaines? Parce que j'ai constaté que la variété asiatique a bénéficié de beaucoup de recherches, a été vraiment obtenu, on dira, beaucoup d'avancées dans le temps, tandis que la variété africaine, pas vraiment. Alors, je voudrais savoir qu'est-ce qui est fait dans ce sens. Voilà.
Vous, votre rangée a déjà parlé. Par contre, il n'y avait personne de cette rangée-là. Et puis, bon, 2 dames ont déjà parlé, donc je vais prendre le monsieur qui est ici. Voilà. Comme ça, on a eu 2 dames, 2 hommes, et toutes les rangées ont parlé, à peu près, sauf ici. Donc, le prochain round de questions, on commencera par là-bas. Vous avez ma promesse. Allez-y.
Bonjour à tous. Moi, c'est Koulibaly Daouda, membre de l'association CEFIS. J'aimerais savoir, lors de votre intervention, monsieur, vous avez parlé des différentes approches de la FAO. J'aimerais savoir exactement jusque-là quelle approche ou stratégie concrète qui a été mise en œuvre afin de permettre l'autonomisation de la femme dans l'inclusion des chaînes de valeur. Merci.
Ça a le mérite d'être très clair. Et donc, on va commencer les réponses par ça. Juste un bref rappel. Parce qu'il y a des questions adressées à la banque, mais dans notre panel, il n'y a pas vraiment de spécialistes agricoles de la banque. Peut-être que je vais les diriger vers la FAO, à moins que les partenaires de la banque qui sont dans la salle, qui se sentent en capacité de répondre, puissent apporter ces éléments de réponse-là. Donc, on a commencé par une question sur genre et développement agricole. Et la question était de savoir qu'est-ce que la banque fait pour que ce soit mieux connu, que ce soit mieux pris en compte et qu'on évite, par exemple, de manquer des opportunités de financement, comme ça a été le cas pour cette coopérative. L'autre question qui est venue aussi, c'est qu'il y a, dans le cadre des engagements macro qui sont pris, des promesses de niveau d'investissement dans l'agriculture à respecter. Et la question est de savoir comment des partenaires comme la banque font pour aider ou mettre un peu de pression sur les États pour qu'ils se conforment à ce type d'engagement-là pour atteindre les engagements qui sont pris en matière d'appui au développement agricole. La même question se pose aussi pour s'assurer qu'il y ait un cadre réglementaire qui soit respecté par tous, quel que soit le niveau de pouvoir qu'on a quand on intervient sur une chaîne de valeur. L'avant-dernière question était celle de la promotion des variétés locales. Et celle-là, je pense que je vais l'adresser à Chaldia, puisque c'est sur ça qu'elle travaille, pour qu'elle nous donne la perspective là-dessus. Mais que fait aussi la banque et que font les partenaires pour faire mieux la promotion des variétés locales plutôt que de promouvoir des hybrides qui demandent de recourir le plus souvent à des nouveaux stocks de semences à chaque campagne, tel que c'est expliqué dans le cadre du riz. Mais la question la plus simple est celle qui est adressée à la FAO, donc je vais m'adresser à M. Koffi pour commencer avec cette question. Quelle approche est mise en œuvre pour une meilleure inclusion du genre dans le développement des chaînes de valeur?
Voilà. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Dauda, for the question. For me, to start, as a policy officer, it's very difficult for me to take off my policy hat. So let me mention two key policy issues and then address the question. I think to address the gender inequalities in agricultural value chains, one key policy area is to enforce legislations. For example, against discrimination, harassment, wage inequalities, and also enforce ethical standards in terms of labor rights, code of conduct for decent rural employment. The second element in terms of policy is to, government should also try to protect women and other gender categories from the negative impact of markets, health and child care services to be provided, or in terms of supporting their activities, improve their access to water, electricity, fuel, as well as provide basic training in literacy and other skills. But to come back to the question, I think FAO first intervene at very different levels. And at global level, I want to mention two global public goods that have been developed with support and leadership of FAO to ensure that women and other gender categories are well taken into account, especially when it comes to investments. So one of these tool is the guideline for responsible investment in agriculture, which is developed by the CFS, the World Committee on Food Security, and this guideline is available at the disposal of countries to adopt, look at it, adopt and implement, which actually give some guidance on how to take care of gender issues when you are doing an investment. Besides this, FAO also support countries. If you know, most countries are now developing their National Agricultural Investment Plan, the second generation following the Malabo Declaration. And in this support provided by FAO, we make sure that countries take into consideration cross-sectoral issues, including gender, youth employment, and all those aspects that are relevant in the country. Of course, the countries own these investment plans, but our role is to draw their attention to these issues and also to support them in case they decide to include this aspect in their investment plan. Also, the last point is the support in terms of generating information or knowledge that inform decision-making at a higher level. I can mention here, last year, FAO was able to do a gender assessment in the agricultural sector for nearly 44 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And this gender assessment revealed the situation of women in different agricultural sectors, value chains, and that information is valuable for decision makers or even for planning how to implement the agricultural investment plan and other programs. So these are some of the elements I want to highlight in terms of FAO's work in supporting inclusiveness, including gender. Thank you.
Okay. Continuing on what the technical and financial partners are doing in this matter, I would like to pass it over to the banks, someone to the bank to continue to answer the question, to provide the bank's perspective on that precise question. Madame Diop is going to answer? Yeah, okay.
Merci beaucoup. Je ne suis pas la spécialiste en genre, mais comme je travaille beaucoup avec aussi le secteur de l'agriculture, je peux déjà partager quelques points. Mais je pense que si vous avez besoin de plus de renseignements, on pourra peut-être après aussi donner les contacts du département du genre. Donc, dans le domaine de l'agriculture, il y a aussi tous les aspects législatifs par rapport à l'accès à la terre aux femmes que la banque de plus en plus prend en compte dans les programmes agricole. Il y a aussi tout ce qui concerne comment augmenter les revenus des femmes, notamment dans les activités par rapport à la transformation agricole au niveau des petites et moyennes entreprises. On essaie de favoriser davantage les femmes, d'avoir un pourcentage. Par exemple, lorsque les périmètres maraîchers sont mis en place à travers certains programmes, il y a un pourcentage au moins qui est requis pour favoriser un peu l'implication des femmes en tant qu'actrices et aussi en tant que bénéficiaires. Et il y a toute la dynamique de renforcement des capacités dans le développement agricole pour que les femmes aient les outils pour pouvoir le faire aussi, qui est souvent pris en compte dans les programmes de la banque de manière générale. Donc, c'était juste pour ajouter ces quelques points. Il y en a beaucoup plus d'autres, mais on pourra peut-être mettre en rapport avec le département du genre.
Merci. Effectivement, on pourra continuer parce qu'à un niveau plus pratique aussi, c'est bien de pouvoir mettre à la disposition des acteurs des outils simples qui leur permettent de savoir où ils en sont question genre, jusqu'où ils veulent aller et de quelle manière peuvent les faire évoluer sur un continuum du genre, le type d'action qu'ils mènent. Comme ça, les acteurs peuvent prendre des décisions éclairées par rapport à ce qu'ils veulent faire et jusqu'où ils peuvent aller sur une échelle de genre qui partirait par exemple de complètement insensible au genre jusqu'à ce qu'on appelle gender transformative, avec toute une catégorie d'actions, chacun ayant son potentiel de faire bouger d'un stade à l'autre. Mais c'est une question encore de partage de connaissances et de partage de savoirs, de mise à disposition de ces savoirs-là pour que le maximum d'acteurs puissent y avoir accès. Est-ce que maintenant on s'adresse à la question, et je reste avec la banque et la FAO, sur comment est-ce qu'on s'assure que les États mettent en œuvre les engagements en termes de niveau d'investissement pour lesquels ils ont fait des promesses pour respecter les agendas globaux de développement de l'agriculture, ou en tout cas au moins l'agenda africain de développement de l'agriculture. Donc 10% du budget à consacrer dans l'investissement à l'agriculture. Comment concrètement un partenaire comme la banque ou la FAO fait pour s'assurer que les gouvernements avec lesquels elle travaille mettent en œuvre cet engagement? You going for that one? Okay.
Just allow me to come in before FAO and the AfDB come in. I come from an association of strengthening agricultural research in 11 countries in the Eastern and Central Africa. And if you look at the governance structure of this organization, it is supposed to be also an intergovernmental organization, because the patron ministers of the ministers for agriculture are the patron of the institution. And we, in the board of the association, we have the appointees who are the director generals in charge of the national research institutes. So every time, like last June when we had the board meeting, this question came up because we were challenging the board members, because they can have direct access to their ministers and also to the Ministry of Finance to try and sort out this matter. Because we were asking them, you are political appointees, yet we find that in the 11 countries, very few have reached or are getting closer, like Ethiopia, have passed this. So one area that we are now doing, and the board have already committed, is to lobby the ministers for agriculture in all these 11 countries. And before the end of this year, there's going to be a ministerial conference to tackle not only this issue, but also others that are affecting the agricultural value chain and the agricultural research for development within the sub-region. So I may say that there is some progress being made at the institutions level. But I believe the AfDB can also still come up and push for that.
AfDB or FAO? Who is taking over?
Okay,
Okay.
I can add briefly something. I think we have to avoid, in my view, personal view, we have to avoid making a polemic around the 10% GDP investment in agriculture. Why? Because the 10%, even though adopted by the head of states, is just an indicative level. A country may invest 5% and achieve food security or do better. Another country may invest 15% and not achieve the goal that are set in the CADEPO Maputo Declaration. So we have to be very careful how we interpret the 10%. This said, at least from FAO's perspective, FAO supports countries based on the choice they made or they make. FAO can advise, and based on the choice country make, we provide technical support. I don't think, and that this is why also we generate information, to support decision making. And I don't see, well, it may be very difficult for us to pressure government, the national government, which are, they are, I don't know how to say it. Yes, we cannot, I don't think development partners can really pressure countries and government into doing something if they don't wish to do it. And here is what I want to continue on the issue of countries, having a clear political economy and also clear priority setting. So once a country has these elements together, whether they want to reduce poverty in rural areas or increase food availability in the cities, or address youth or women issues in here and there, value chains. So these are some of the things that the country as, or the national authorities should take. And then development partners, advise and also support. So this is my take on the issue of the 10%. There was one question about autonomization of...
about enforcement of regulation within the same...
Enforcement of regulations? No, I will give up on that. I didn't get the question properly, so I will not venture. Thank you.
Okay, for the sake of time management, I will turn it over to Chaldia now to address the issue of why not more relying on promoting indigenous varieties instead of working on designing hybrid varieties that may have some that may cause some inconvenience to farmers and others, etc. This is a quite broad issue, but what's your perspective on this? Because you're a plant scientist and you are also working based on indigenous species. So what can you be, what could be an answer to that question that has been raised here?
Merci pour la question. Avant d'aborder la question sur les variétés locales, je vais d'abord donner une réponse sur la question relative au genre. Comment est-ce que la BAD prend en compte le genre? Depuis quelques mois, j'ai commencé par faire des expériences avec la BAD à travers son programme Enable Youth. Alors, qu'est-ce que moi j'ai remarqué personnellement? C'est que dans ce programme, la BAD s'investit à faire la promotion des jeunes et des femmes. Donc, chaque fois qu'on va à des rencontres, tout au moins, je vous assure, il y a plus de 50% de femmes. Parmi les choix qu'ils font généralement, si c'est pour le renforcement des capacités, ils prennent en compte, j'ai remarqué quand même qu'ils prennent en compte le genre. Donc, c'est à leur bénéfice, c'est quelque chose qu'ils font et qu'il faut qu'on l'avoue. Donc, ils ont quand même à cœur la question du genre, comment faire la promotion du genre, surtout des femmes et des jeunes. Quand je reviens à la question qui m'a été posée sur la promotion des variétés locales, oui, il faut qu'on fasse la promotion des variétés locales. Parce que ces variétés locales sont généralement des variétés qui, depuis des années, des siècles même, étaient dans des systèmes de production, je dirais, traditionnels, que nos parents, ce sont des semences que nos parents avaient l'habitude de cultiver, et même jusque-là, il y en a toujours qui en cultivent. Maintenant, nous ne devons pas ignorer le fait qu'il y a actuellement les changements climatiques et qu'on le veuille ou pas, ça impacte la qualité de ces semences. Donc, qu'est-ce qu'il y a lieu de faire? C'est que le producteur, il arrive quand même à conserver ces variétés locales d'une certaine manière, pas des techniques endogènes de conservation, mais des institutions de recherche qui sont dans l'agriculture et qui ont comme vocation la conservation des ressources aussi, collectent ces ressources-là, ces variétés locales qu'ils essayent de conserver. Et l'intérêt de la conservation de ces variétés locales, c'est de pouvoir les mettre à disposition des utilisateurs, des futurs utilisateurs que nous sommes. J'ai une entreprise semencière, forcément j'aurais besoin des variétés locales que les producteurs de ma zone, de l'Afrique, avaient l'habitude d'utiliser pour pouvoir améliorer ça, pour proposer maintenant une nouvelle variété qui sera plus adaptée. On ne parle pas du léant, on parle forcément de la variété locale qu'il y avait dans les différentes zones. Lorsqu'on veut mettre en place, veut leur produire des semences de qualité qui seraient quand même adaptées à leurs conditions. Donc forcément, il y a des programmes de conservation de ces variétés locales. Et mis à part ça, je dois aborder le sujet dans le second angle aussi. Nous ne devons pas rejeter d'office l'utilisation des variétés hybrides. Une variété hybride, ce n'est pas quelque chose de dangereux. Ce n'est pas dangereux, ce n'est pas encore un OGM. Une variété hybride, c'est juste la variété qui est issue peut-être du croisement de deux variétés, peut-être qui est de lignée pure, peut-être on prend deux variétés locales, on voit que telle variété locale de telle zone a telle caractéristique, telle variété de telle zone a telle caractéristique. Mais aujourd'hui, par rapport aux effets du changement climatique, nous avons peut-être besoin d'avoir, pour ces deux différentes zones, une variété qui va combiner les deux caractères. Là, l'améliorateur ou bien le chercheur se lance dans la sélection de la nouvelle variété en prenant les deux variétés locales, en travaillant là-dessus et en essayant d'obtenir juste une variété qui va quand même répondre aux deux exigences. Donc, ce qu'ils veulent, le meilleur caractère qu'ils ont trouvé dans l'un et dans l'autre, ils essaient de combiner ça pour que maintenant, cette nouvelle variété qui sera introduite dans le milieu puisse mieux répondre. Donc, les variétés hybrides aussi, nous ne devons pas les rejeter. Tout dépend de l'objectif du producteur. Qu'est-ce qu'il veut faire? Quel type d'agriculture il compte adopter? Est-ce juste une agriculture de subsistance? Est-ce juste une production sur 200 mètres carrés, 400 mètres carrés? S'il doit aller à des hectares et s'il vise vraiment de grands marchés, il doit penser à aller aux hybrides parce que la performance des variétés hybrides est plus élevée que la performance de nos variétés locales. Je vous remercie.
Merci, c'est une réponse très, très complète parce qu'effectivement, si on doit faire face à des facteurs de vulnérabilité que sont le climat, que sont les maladies, etc., on a besoin d'avoir des variétés qui résistent à ça et ça implique un travail de sélection génétique et d'hybridation pour pouvoir faire face à ça. Malheureusement, les hybrides ne se reproduisent pas, c'est pour ça que chaque fois, il faut aller réacheter des semences hybrides. C'est vrai pour les animaux, c'est vrai pour les végétaux. Voilà. Alors, à ce point-là, nous avons pratiquement épuisé le temps qui nous est imparti, mais il reste au moins un ou deux aspects qu'on n'a pas couverts, qui sont les suivants. On a parlé donc d'avoir une approche sensible aux gens pour traiter de l'inclusion. On a regardé aussi la nécessité d'avoir une approche sensible aux questions de fragilité, aux questions de conflit, et on a cru comprendre qu'il y avait un outil pour ça. On a regardé aussi qu'un des points où il y avait des problèmes d'inclusion, c'était l'accès au financement. Donc, la question qu'on veut explorer maintenant, c'est quel est l'état des lieux en matière de capacité de mesure sur ces aspects précis-là. Comment est-ce que nos systèmes actuels de suivi et évaluation sont capables de mesurer les aspects qui nous permettent de juger du niveau d'inclusivité des chaînes de valeur, que ce soit du point de vue du genre, que ce soit du point de vue de la fragilité, que ce soit du point de vue de l'accès aux facteurs de production. Donc, c'est ce dernier aspect-là que je voudrais qu'on regarde. Et peut-être avant de prendre une ou deux questions, je veux savoir si un de nos panélistes peut nous donner une perspective là-dessus avant qu'on passe à l'audience que vous êtes. Oui.
I'll make a very brief intervention on the data available. If we compare to the situation 5 years ago, I believe that in Africa now, which was known for the continent, which really lacked statistics, I think that we today have a lot of data available to make that link that I was promoting in my intervention, where we're linking agricultural activities with more broader fragility or conflict-related issues. But in order for that to be incorporated in our evaluation and monitoring, or monitoring and evaluation, that needs to be part of our project design. So from my perspective, working with fragility, there is a need to broaden the scope when we undertake our assessment. I thought it was quite telling in the morning session when we saw the list in the PowerPoint about the comprehensive value chain assessment. Comprehensive for me as a fragility expert is to include these fragility dimensions, but I did not see them as part of the comprehensive value chain assessment, nor did I see it or heard it mentioned during the evaluation. So it's for the practitioners, it's for you who works with agriculture to work with colleagues such as myself who works in fragility in order to ensure that during the project design we include these indicators that are already available. But I think, as I mentioned before, even though they are available, I still see that there is a gap when we talk about how the agricultural activities impacts fragility or can improve resilience. Whereas when we look at how conflict impacts agriculture, there we do have quite a lot of research and quite many conclusions. But to turn it around and see how your projects can either make a situation worse by not being aware of the conflict that are associated with your project, then we get into the doing harm that we're really trying to avoid, and in the best possible scenario, by integrating fragility activities, your activity, instead of only addressing the agricultural aspects, which are important, you can also build resilience about social cohesion, conflict, mitigation, and so forth. So my plea today would be that as we move forward, that we have a stronger link between the work that is done on value chain development and fragility. Thank you.
Merci. Yes, go ahead, please, but be brief.
Yes, just to also add on the fragility, I believe that, yes, we have been working on the use of ICT in value chain development. I'm not very sure whether we've really done enough evaluation and shared the lessons learned from those that have used such platforms. For example, we have so many e-services. Just go to Ghana when they started with their e-Soko platform. Rwanda quickly came up, and in their current strategic plan, National Agricultural Development Plan, they have advanced that e-Soko platform into what they call the e-Soko Plus. Because they are incorporating it through their evaluation and their learning. So they are intelligently borrowing what Ghana is using and making sure that they also come up with their own. Because their eSoko Plus is going to really help them improve their market price information system. So that even the local woman, the local man, the local youth in the village is able to link through this e-service. There is also another platform which they are using, which they intelligently borrowed, what they call the massive online open courses. And this one was to make sure that they come up with what works at the very, very deepest level within the community. And they share the photos, they share the good agricultural practices, the challenges, and all of these are uploaded on a common platform that the farmers and the practitioners and the smallholders can easily access. If you go quickly to the Eastern Africa part, they have come up with a mechanization service, what they call the e-Tinga. Tinga itself is a tractor. So they are talking about an e-tractor service. And here is a case whereby they have a platform where they avail several parts of the tractor, whether you want the combine harvester, whether you want the plow, whatever you want. So you can easily go onto that platform and you can access whichever machine you'd want to use. And then you start negotiating with them and they can help you. And this is very, very helpful. If you allow me also, there are other platforms which are like the farmer query system. These are platforms which, if through our evaluation, we avail these even to the local farmer, because most of them have got mobile phones, they can easily use these farmer query systems, platforms, to ask as many questions as possible and be given some information. As I finish, yes, thanks so much. ICT, I believe, is still not being adequately used in the production system management. There's a whole lot of things there, like access to information, access to decision making, using the ICT production system management. ICT has not been fully used in access to the markets. We have many farmers in the village. They cannot access the market as quickly as possible. But if we come up and enhance this our ICT market platform, it can really be helpful. And then, of course, ICT in financial inclusion. It can be helpful because there are so many. I cannot explain, I cannot give the examples of institutions, of small farmer organizations that are using these ICT platforms to access funds from the small and medium enterprises. So they are able to negotiate through their organization, farmer organizations, and they can access some of these services. And we can still expound on these, document them, share them on the good delivery platforms for all of them to access. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is highlighting what I was about to say. This is a very rich discussion that can go over and over. And there are still some points we have not covered, notably access to market, access to finance, etc. So we can continue the discussion beyond this panel. But there's a public piece of wisdom that says, don't stand too much long between someone and his lunch. So I'm going to cut it short and thank our distinguished panelists, and also thank all of you that have made our session a vibrant conversation, and I hope that you have learned a lot, and we are still available even during the lunch should you need any extended discussion on the points we have made. So I'll leave it over now to Mrs. Gorishi to wrap up the day, and thank you so much for your attention. I want to be sure that I have appropriately invited you to wrap up the session. Julie.
Can I go first, Fabrizio? Yeah, thank you. So let me start by thanking everyone for a very interesting morning. It's very rich, very engaging. I'm happy to see so many people so engaged, and well done to you all and to IDEV for organizing this. I was really struck by everything I heard, or most of the things I heard are relevant for many other sectors as well. I think most of the main points anyway are relevant for my sector, they are relevant for other sectors. So I think one of the things I'd like to say is really to reinforce the point that development is going to happen when sectors work together rather than separately. I also heard that the importance of taking the full comparative advantage of the bank. As I said, the bank is not just about money. It's about technical knowledge. It's about analysis. We've heard a lot about the importance of analysis to inform project and program design, the importance of analysis to help us improve implementation where things are not going as planned. The importance of adaptive management so that our projects take long. Our projects and other partners' projects typically take long to prepare, so to be fixed to what we knew 5 years ago would really not work. So having flexibility and being able to respond to changes, realities, priorities, etc., is the way we have to design projects and programs. The other point is making the whole system work. I come from the water sector, so I think that in the olden days there was a lot of focus on, if you think about irrigation, developing the infrastructure and not thinking about what happens on farm and after. We've heard a lot about that agriculture has to be profitable. If it's not, there's not going to be sustainability, incentives, obviously benefits. So making it all work, and that means that we need to think about marketing skills, business skills, and also not just focus on production, but also on the value chains. Importance of sustainability, again, we hear about that in every sector. Need to ensure, ownership is an important part of that. Being able to benefit is also an important part of that, but also how comprehensively are we designing and implementing our projects? Are we looking at whole packages? Are we looking at partial packages? And all these factors undermine the possibilities for sustainability. I was also struck by policies and reforms. And the question I had is that we've been doing reforms over many years. How much is enough? Are we doing the right reforms? Why are they not yielding the designs that are contained in those reforms? I am actually believing that we have more. If we implemented the policies we already have, we would be much further than we are. I think that we do lack policies, I agree, but I think that the biggest thing we're lacking is not policies, probably implementation of those policies. Access to finance, again, a common issue, and this is important for everyone in the value chain. I think as we look at every goal, look at every SDG goal, we cannot be able to, many of them will need access to other sources of finance to complement the public sources that we have so relied on so far. I think the issue of partnerships, no one can do it alone. I think very important to select who we partner with, where, when, and for what benefits. We all bring important comparative advantages from the institutions we work for. So how we partner, we need to partner, how we partner and the benefits, and also how we measure the benefits coming from partnerships. That is rarely spoken about, but we do need to be able to measure what we deliver, whether it's in partnership or individually. There were concerns about how do we get out of low productivity systems, policies and what kind of policies and practices are needed to boost production in general. There were some concerns also about what to do to boost production and consumption of local foods. That's a very interesting. I'm Kenyan. There isn't a lot of food in Kenya, so I'm really having a great time living here. And our neighboring country, Uganda, where they have so much food. Food just grows everywhere. So I also see what was being expressed. Our foods are really, really nutritious. I am not an agriculture person. I don't know how to get us all back, but I really would support any efforts towards that. I think that the role of the private sector and our clients' lack of orientation to commercial practices, I fully agree with that. We are very much, our experience is very much working from the public sector side, and probably, we do need to bring in skills that, internally so that we can help our clients develop that orientation. Everything we do needs to factor in climate change. The question about, this whole new issue of climate change and what it means for development in general, agriculture in particular, we really have to take care of that. Otherwise, it's it's a missed opportunity because we know these things are happening. We know they will come. When we design an irrigation system, we do have to think about it. One thing I'd like to emphasize, and the issue of water management was raised. I come from a country where per capita storage is 3 cubic meters. Can you imagine that? 3 cubic meters. And the bank is financing a project that will raise that to 16. It seems like a small number, but it's significant because we just don't have storage. Other countries have more. They are obviously not, Kenya is among the worst, but there are countries with much better levels of storage. But we really need to develop that and much more resilience systems. The issue of inclusiveness and the role of women, I'm very happy to hear that. I just want us to make sure we mainstream, not just, ticking the boxes. We did the analysis. We have women on committees. We really need to mainstream. It's not easy, but let's keep talking about it. Let's keep implementing. The issue of the fragility that our programs need to incorporate drivers of fragility. I would add to that depending on fragility, but usually there's a great focus on short-term action. Sometimes it's to save lives. Sometimes it's to how do you balance saving lives, the thing that you have today, tomorrow, stop a conflict, with long-term development of a sector like agriculture, whatever sector you take. It's very important to think about the immediate goals you want to have, but how you can use that as entry points to plant seeds for long-term sector development, whatever sector you are dealing with, and also to make sure that you build resilience, especially social resilience. I think we had very interesting point about where are our value chains. I was really struck by about 70 to 80% of our value chains are between emerging and expanding. Was that correct? The gentleman from Uganda? Yes, so, wow, I had there are many things I don't know about this sector, but that really struck me. We really need to pay attention to that, and also issues of, he also raised the issues of value stream mapping as well, as part of the analysis that was mentioned. How we measure, we can't manage what we do not measure, so that's important. And I want to end by saying there are many points. I will share them with Karen and her team. There are very many points. I just want to end by saying there is a lot of knowledge out here and out there, a lot of innovation out here and out there. We need more of that, no doubt. But I would like to really ask that we have a bias towards implementation. We really need to implement. Let's implement, let's improve as we go along. Let's learn and incorporate as we go along. But if there's one message I would like to leave with you is, let's have a bias towards implementation. Thank you.
So after such an excellent summary by the previous speaker, it would be difficult to add much more content. So let me just concentrate on a few observations, and some of them immediately stem from the evaluation that has been done at the African Development Bank on your experience on value chain. Certainly, one of the first statements in the presentation and in the report is also that the experience in value chain at the African Development Bank is relatively new. It's relatively new. And I think this could be generalized to other international financial institutions. It's a relatively new era. Even 10 years of projects, I would say it's relatively new because it's only now that we start seeing some of the results and evaluating. So it's new. There's also a finding in this evaluation that value chain development requires engagement in the long term. It's not something you can do with a single project cycle. It's said very clearly. There are a number of enablers, and some of these enablers do require specific investments. An example being, for example, infrastructure, information and communication technology. That requires an investment that could be done even in a project cycle. Others require reforms and changes in the policy environment. This probably requires more than a single project cycle. Others are just transversal to the project cycle because they depend on the type of partnership that we engage with. So that was another issue, engaging all the partners. Value chain is a system and it's made of several layers. Several partners are responsible for each layer. We need to engage them all. So these two, new experience, the two requires long-term investment and commitment. Also, I think important was the discussion on sustainability. And we learned that sustainability has many facets. It's not just simply economic and financial sustainability, though fundamental. It's absolutely important to guarantee sustainability. And by the way, even economic and financial sustainability needs to happen at all the layers of the value chain and for all the main actors, not just one. But also there are other facets of sustainability. One of them, of course, being environmental sustainability. And many of you remarked, for example, the importance of natural resource management, adaptation to climate change. We have quite a few questions, intervention on this. I think it's fundamental. Others looked at socioeconomic sustainability. For a value chain to be vital, you need to have social economic sustainability. You need to have inclusiveness. If this doesn't happen, and if particularly if you exclude some of the possible partners, then you may run into issues of conflict, for example. And one of the interventions on pastoralism was about conflict and was a very concrete example of what may happen if a value chain fails to be inclusive. So social inclusiveness, and of course, I would say institutional sustainability. So again, the institution that participates and the public and private also need to be there and need to accompany the process. So again, I think it was a very stimulating discussion, and I was really glad to participate on it. And I think I've learned a lot, and I will use many of these thoughts also for the evaluation that we are conducting at the moment at IFAD, and hopefully we'll be able to present it to some of you next year when we complete it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our distinguished speakers since this morning. That was a very enriching discussion, carrying on from the conversation of yesterday and echoing and reiterating the need for working together in feeding Africa. And without further ado, we cannot build the infrastructures we talked about yesterday in the PPPs on empty stomachs. So we are going to have a lunch break. We are running behind schedule by almost 50 minutes. So I would urge all of us so that we don't miss the closing session, which is very important because it's wrapping everything we've been discussing since yesterday. If we can take just 1 hour, then we proceed to our lunch spaces. And just like yesterday, you bear with us, we don't have a room that holds everybody for lunch, and that's why we have 2 arrangements. So for everyone who has a lunch ticket, you can see the nice ladies in our African outfit. They will lead you to the -2 for all the people who have the lunch tickets, to the -2 room where we are serving lunch. And we're extending it to also for the -2 to our speakers. So our speakers, please, even if you don't have a lunch ticket, I'll be there. So come to the -2 for the lunch. And for the rest of us who don't have the lunch tickets, just outside the auditorium, you'll find the same ladies there, and they'll guide you to pick your lunch packs. Thank you very much. Bon appetit. See you in the afternoon after 1 hour. Thank you.